Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Advanced Bass Fishing, and much appreciated you guys checking out today's episode and spending some time with me. And guys, today I want to talk about setting the hook, about how hard you should set the hook when you're bass fishing. I see a lot of people making mistakes doing this, just fishing with people, observing people over the years, and I've made a lot of mistakes myself. I've learned a lot about setting the hook through hard lessons of losing fish as a result of it. So I sort of want to give you guys some of my experience on that might help you guys land some more fish and sort of change your hook sets a little bit. Also, guys, just a big thank you before we get started. Thank you very much for taking time to subscribe here to Advanced Bass Fishing if you've done that. Thank you for using all the links I put in my video description. All you guys that are using that tackle warehouse link to purchase your tackle, you're really helping the channel out, and a big thank you from me and my family for that. Okay, I was like so many people out there for years. I mean, for decades really like that. I just thought you had to set the hook hard in bass fishing. I mean, depending upon your line test that you're using. But I had the theory all the time that the harder you set the hook and the better hook set that you got, the more the hook would drive into the fish's mouth. And guys, that's not true at all. It's like it took me forever to learn better than that. And it came about through frustration, because I went through a period back in the 90s, like the mid to late 90s, where, guys, I had a chance to win like 15 or 20 national Bassmaster and FLW tournaments over about a 5 or 6 year period. This was when I was back at the top of my game, finishing in the top 5 in tournaments a lot. And guys, I was losing so many fish, unbelievable losing fish. And I got realizing I tried to eliminate everything, like my hooks, my hook sizes, every line, everything, different type of rods. And it finally came down to my hook set. I figured it out that my hook set was wrong. And what I was doing is, number one, I was setting I was setting the hook too hard, and I was setting the hook on either a slack or a semi-slack line. Now, I don't have my rods here with me, guys. I'm not at the house right now, but one of the things that you need to remember in bass fishing is, don't believe this stuff about setting the hook hard on a slack line, because what happens, and how I figured this out, is when you say you get a bite like that, and then you bow down to the fish, you create a little bit of slack or looseness in your line, and then you set the hook hard like that. A lot of times the force of popping that line back on a slack hook and setting it hard, sometimes it will actually do two things. It'll either pop that bass's mouth open. Say you have a jig in the fish's mouth, and that super hard hook set will force the bass's mouth open, and a lot of times the fish will just spit the lure out. You won't have it. Or when you set the hook hard a lot of times, this membrane that's right here on a bass, that's a real soft skin membrane, and you'll set the hook, it'll penetrate that membrane, and then it'll tear it. It'll tear like a big hole in it, and the fish comes up and jumps off. Those are the two most common things. And I got looking at people that never lost fish. Guys, the dudes out there that never lost fish were the older dudes that didn't set the hook hardly at all. Guys like, I remember Gary Yamamoto, some of the older dudes, they'd get a bite, and then all of a sudden they just like pull back into it slow and start reeling, and they never lost a fish. And I've told this story before on my other channel, but this is when everything changed for me. Is I was practicing for a tournament down at Grand Lake in Oklahoma, FLW tournament, and I was flipping bushes with a worm. And in practice, I use little cheap junk hooks, just because I don't care if I lose the fish or not, and I always try to shake the fish off. And I got noticing in that practice, it's like I'd get a bite in a bush or something, and the fish would start swimming off with it, and I just start shaking it like that, trying to get the fish to drop it. And 90% of the time, until I finally cut my hook off completely, they'd be hooked perfectly through the roof of the mouth, and I wasn't even setting the hook on it. First day of the tournament, I go out there and I put on my bigger hooks, and I get the bites, and I reel down and I jack them like I always do. And guys, I had 13 bites the first day of that tournament and got 2 fish in the boat. I lost a bunch of big ones, and I was at my breaking point. So the next day of the tournament, I said, I got nothing to lose. I'm going to try it just like I did in practice. So I went out there, and when I'd get a bite, I just sort of shake it a little bit and then just start reeling. I never lost a fish. I landed every one of them like that. because what happened is by me shaking it and just reeling and keeping pressure on that hook, those fish never had a chance to shake it, and I wasn't tearing the roof of their mouth. And if they clamped down on the bait and they opened their mouth, my consistent reeling would just penetrate that hook on the way out. It made all the difference in the world. And guys, this is the same. I don't care if it's a jig or a worm or a crankbait or whatever. It's like, stop setting the hook hard. This is the biggest piece of advice I can give you. You don't want to not put pressure on the fish, but you don't want to set the hook. You want, when you get a bite, you want to reel fast and pull into that fish. So you definitely want to penetrate the hook. It's not like you just want to just reel the fish in. You want to keep pressure on it by reeling fast like that and pulling into it, but you don't want to jerk. You don't want to, snap and jerk like that. That's when you lose the fish. So the best advice I can give you guys is when I don't care if you're throwing a crankbait, a topwater, a jig or whatever, and you get a bite, make sure the line is tight before you actually pull into the fish, and then pull into the fish and reel at the same time, and you will land far more fish than just setting that hook like you've probably been doing for years like I did. Guys, it cost me winning tournaments. It cost me winning hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was frustrating for decades until I figured it out, but I hope you learn from my mistakes on that. I think it'll really help you guys out. So anyway, we'll talk later. See you guys.